With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, behind the scenes, this Harry Potter show that HBO is going to do is picking up massive momentum. And I remember talking to a guy at a studio a couple of weeks ago and said, you know, from what I'm hearing, so they didn't have firsthand knowledge, but they said, from what I'm hearing, HBO has not had a flood from the agencies of interest of their talent wanting to be in this Harry Potter show. They're like, the guy told me that this Harry Potter show is like HBO's never had agencies calling them with the sheer number of talent that wants to be in this. They said, this thing's really heating up a lot. And then of course we've been hearing more and more. There's been some talk about, you know, maybe Mark Rylance being the new Dumbledore, Pape Sidu as possibly being the new Snape. But now there's a couple of other names that are being reported by Deadline. And one of them has me really excited. A bunch of them I think are really good, but there's one that has me really excited. So Deadline writes this. The first name to make the rounds was Oscar winner Mark Rylance for the role of Dumbledore, headmaster of Hogwarts, played by the late Richard Harris and Michael Gambon in the movies. But Mark Strong more recently has emerged as a prospect for the part, along with I May Destroy You's Pape Sidu for Potions Master Snape, originated by the late Alan Rickman in the films. All right, so stop there for a second. So right away, let's go back to my shot here, Jonathan. Right away, I said right away, Mark Rylance as Dumbledore is beautiful casting. If that's what they do, that is magnificent casting. He'd be great at it. But then they bring up the name of Mark Strong, and I'm like, hold on a minute.
See, that's where I was leaning.
Yeah, Mark Strong?
Yeah.
Were you thinking Mark Strong before? See, I hadn't even really considered Mark Strong. But once they mentioned Mark Strong, I'm like, now, wait a minute. That's it, because I'm just locked into Mark Rylance to be the guy. But now, Mark Strong as a Dumbledore, I'm seeing him with, like, normally we just see him bald, but have him with the long gray hair and stuff like that.
Just, the thing with Rylance is I only saw him for a Dumbledore that we would have seen in, like, season 1 and season 2, because it felt like it was, like, Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets Dumbledore, but I just didn't see Mark Rylance for that booming like presence that came later.
Right. Well, I mean, he's done some things where he can do that, right? But oftentimes he plays this more demure kind of character, and he does it brilliantly. But I mean, I think he'd be great. But Mark Strong, I think, would be awesome for that too. So those are a couple that Deadline is reading on right now. Then there comes Professor McGonagall. The rumor mill has also been hyping up of late Emmy-nominated Bad Sisters co-star Sharon Horgan, who I know Chris loves. Chris Carr loves her, as being eyed for Deputy Headmistress Minerva McGonagall, portrayed by the late Maggie Smith in the movies. There has been conflicting information about whether Oscar winner Rachel Weisz is also on the wish list for the role.
Interesting.
Sign me up for that one too.
Interesting.
Rachel Weisz as McGonagall? I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. Now, listen, if you're like me and you were around watching The Mummy, you think, man, Rachel Weisz is just way too young. But then when you watch her in Black Widow, right, you were like, oh, yeah, she's like, she's older now and she's awesome. So you age her up a little bit, she would be great. So I like the Sharon Horgan casting, but I would also love the Rachel Weisz casting if they did go with that one. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Aura. Let's be honest, what most people really want for the holidays is to see their favorite people more often. That's why this year, the best gift you can give, besides plane tickets, is an Aura digital picture frame. Named the #1 digital photo frame by Wirecutter, Aura frames are incredibly smart and easy to use, allowing you to upload unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. Plus, you can order the frame online and preload it with photos and videos using the Aura app, so it's ready to go right out of the box. Ann and I have had ours for a while now, and we absolutely love it. Because you may not know, Ann and I like to take a lot of pictures, including a lot of our dogs, Ann's recent trip to Paris, and a whole bunch of other things. And we love having it right on display right there in our living room. So save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get 35% off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code Campea at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code Campea. This deal is exclusive to listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. But here's the one that has me really excited. Meanwhile, Emmy-winning Ted Lasso fan favorite Brett Goldstein, who is also in Shrinking this year. Ted Lasso fan favorite Brett Goldstein has been rumored for the role of Hogwarts gamekeeper Rubus Hagrid, originated by the late Robbie Coltrane. Brett Goldstein as Hagrid. You're a wizard, Harry. Now fuck off. I can like which is something, but anyway, I would love this. I think he would be great. But I'm going to throw in a little side note. Once they mention Brett Goldstein as Hagrid, I love it. I think he would be so good in that. But then I started thinking of something else with Brett Goldstein. What about Brett Goldstein as Snape?
Yeah, I could see him as Snape.
I mean, I could totally see him as Snape too.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the longer hair.
He kind of looks like a Death Eater.
You know, and you know, maybe a little some prosthetics on him to ugly him up a little bit or whatever. He would be a great Snape.
Because he's menacing.
So I'm all for it. You know, one of our great casting just ran out in our live chat. Safwat just said, what about Nick Frost for Hagrid? Nick Frost would be an amazing Hagrid. I love Nick Frost.
Especially if they give Nick Frost a little bit of wiggle room in his performance, as far as like maybe some, not necessarily ad-libbing, but you know, just some off the cuff stuff. Like, man, you're right. He could be a great Hagrid.
Yeah. So, but again, I would love the idea of Brett Goldstein. But anyway, look again, some of the names that are being lined up here. Mark Rylance, Mark Strong, Rachel Weisz, Brett Goldstein. I mean,
That's going to be a 7-year commitment, though. So I would have thought it would have limited a lot of interest, even though they'd want to do it. Maybe characters that show up for one book, I'd be like, yes, let me do that. But man, a 7-year commitment's big.
Here's what I think kicked it off, though. I think there's a couple of things that factor into, because you're right. Usually these big long, that's why there are still some actors that don't want to sign up for like a major like comic book franchise because they don't want to get locked into a 5-film deal or whatever. But when you combine the fact that there's not a lot of Harry Potters, right? Harry Potter became a legacy IP. Like it is something that I mean, it feels like it hasn't been around long enough to do it, but it has. Harry Potter's is in a way like Star Wars. It's become a thing that the love of it is now being passed down from those first generation of fans now to their kids.
Yeah.
Like Ann and I love going to Universal Studios Hollywood because they have the Wizarding World of Harry Potter there. They have Potterland there, which is amazing. And I'm not a major Potterhead, but I love that place because it feels like you are in a Harry Potter movie. Mm-hmm. But I never cease to be amazed when we go in there, how many young kids there are who love Harry Potter, dressed up as Potters. Like, this is something your parents dressed up as 20 years ago.
And the books still sell good too.
The books still sell. It's still as popular as ever. And it is, again, like Star Wars. It's one of these things that is a multi-generational love that is being passed down from parents to their kids, and their kids are embracing it almost as passionately as the first generation of fans did. So you add that with the fact that once they came out and announced who the showrunners and the producers of the shows were going to be, and it's some of the best names in the business right now, I think a lot of talent is looking at, it's HBO, which is the gold standard of highest quality television in the world, period. Combined with a multi-generational loved IP, now being run by the people who have made and run the best and most successful shows lately. I'm not surprised to hearing that the talent is rushing to line up to get a spot in this, if they can.
And whose nieces or nephews or whatever aren't begging them to take the role.
Yeah. I guarantee you, like Bob Iger is Colin David Zaslav says, I've got a granddaughter who loves Harry Potter. You put her in this. I mean, I hope that they don't do that.
Or no, I mean like Mark Rylance, like an older like actor whose grandkids are probably like, please play whoever he's being.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'll be like when I've mentioned this before, but like when I was talking to Anthony Hopkins when he was first joining the Thor, I'm like, why are you getting on board with like a Thor movie, like a comic book Marvel movie? He goes, my grandkids love it. And I'm going to be the coolest grandpa.
I could see
because I'm in a Marvel movie. I'm like,
sure.
That's probably true too of Harry Potter.
Yeah, you get those answers a lot. I can actually see Rylance as maybe like one of the ministers for magic.
Yeah, I mean,
the police force, like the leader of that.
You know how in Oppenheimer, how there were a bunch of big name people that showed up in relatively small roles, like Oscar winner Rami Malek just pops up, right? There's a lot of those kinds of roles in Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't doubt for a minute that you're going to see major talent who will pop up in like one movie.
Well, I'll tell you, here's a good example. Someone earlier in the chat said, what about Ewan McGregor as Professor Lockhart, who was played by Kenneth Branagh?
Perfect. You know what I want to know? What was the name of the professor played by not Donald Gleason, Donald Gleason's dad, Brennan Gleason?
Mad-Eye Moody?
Oh, yeah.
Mad-Eye Moody, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm starting to think, who could play him? That would be
the big one is who's going to be Voldemort, to me.
Voldemort's going to be
well,
big.
I got well, if you could get Mark Rylance, get Mark Rylance. If you could get Mark Strong, they're all tremendous talents. Like, I mean, go get him.
Yeah, again, a lot of people. But here's the thing about the Voldemort one, though. You got a few years.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you don't want, like, remember the first couple of Harry Potter movies, you never even see Voldemort other than that one time that he was on the back of the one guy's head.
And I don't even think that was Ralph Fiennes' voice.
No, it wasn't Ralph Fiennes at all. It wasn't his face. It wasn't his voice. It wasn't anything. So you've still got a couple of years if you want to wait on the Voldemort casting, but that, of course, will be very, very key. Anyway, guys, I'm loving these names. Question is for you. What do you think about some of the names we hear floating around here? It's clear some of the biggest and best talent in the business wants to get in on this show. Who do you think would be a great Hagrid or whatever? What do you think about some of these names? I love the Brett Goldstein one. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.